Anyone watch the fight last night? Canelo versus Crawford. Canelo lost. I'm kind of devastated. He's always been like a mystical figure for me. He's Mexican, and I'm Mexican. People don't believe I'm Mexican, and I'll use Canelo as my point of reference because he kind of looks like me in the sense he's got red hair, white skin, real blanco, but Mexicano, you know what I mean? In my mind, he's like unbeatable. Like he shouldn't be able to be beat. So the fact that he lost is really shocking for me. But you know, it's not uncommon for things that seem too big to sink actually. Things that seem too strong to lose, to in fact lose. You know, I was looking at the list of endangered species on the World Wildlife Fund, the WWF. It's changed a little bit. And you guys know I love animals. I talk about it a lot. And I was looking at some of the animals that are endangered, and I was shocked. So there's levels to this. You have the vulnerable category, and then you have endangered, and then you have what's called critically endangered. And I was shocked to learn that cheetahs are vulnerable. They're too fast to catch, and yet they are a vulnerable species. Black spider monkeys are vulnerable. Any fans of the black spider monkey? They need our help. Tigers are endangered. Tigers! What is killing all the tigers? Sea turtles are endangered. We have to do something. Sea lions are endangered. The golden retrievers of the ocean are endangered. This one's gonna break your heart. Red pandas. Less surprising, they don't look like they can fend for themselves. They are endangered. I was shocked to learn that orangutans are critically endangered. Critically endangered. Every kind of orangutan is critically endangered. African forest elephant, almost none left. Critically endangered. And critically endangered means that you are one generation away from extinction. You face extinction. If this generation cannot curb the descent, it means that you will soon be extinct. And I was looking at all the different species that are facing extinction. I realized that the most critically endangered species on Earth right now is Christianity. And the title of the lesson today is Critically Endangered Christianity. There's nothing more critically endangered than Christianity. True biblical Christianity that you find in the Bible. And I want to put before you that God's people face extinction today. God's people face extinction. We're going to study out Esther here, and I'll give you a little run-up for Esther. So we find ourselves in the exilic period. So in 606 BC, Israel is brought into captivity. They're exiled into Babylon. And Jeremiah prophesied that they would be in Babylon for 70 years. And then to the date, on 536 BC, King Cyrus of Persia sets all the captives free and they go back home. That's when you have Ezra and Zerubbabel. They come back to Jerusalem and their goal is to build the temple. About 50 years after that, Nehemiah leads the second initiative to come back and rebuild the walls around Jerusalem. Esther takes place about 6 years after Nehemiah has left Persia to go back to Jerusalem. So we find ourselves in approximately 480 BC. That makes Esther one of the very last books written in the Old Testament. The only ones after are perhaps Malachi and 2 Chronicles. We find ourselves really wrapping up what is the message, what is the core teaching of the Old Covenant right here in Esther. Esther was an orphan. It says that her parents died in the exile, and she gets raised by her cousin Mordecai. Now, a lot of people think Mordecai might have been an uncle. I kind of lean with that party, but the text says cousin. And so we have Mordecai and Esther. They're sort of the heroes of the story. Very interesting about the book of Esther, it's the only book in the Bible where God is never mentioned or acknowledged. The word God is not in the book. It's the only book where the word God does not appear. He's also, never acknowledged. No one prays in the book. God is absent. But it's very purposeful on the part of the author to show that even when God is not being acknowledged, he is still working and involved in all things. So it's a purposeful absence of God in the story. The characters in the story. We have King Xerxes, real historical character. And what we learn in the book is that this guy is just totally sloppy. He's just drunk all the time. This guy is just always drinking. And he's kind of bipolar too. So if you catch him when he's a happy drunk, he'll just give you a lot of things. But it's risky because if you come and he's an angry drunk, he just starts putting people to death. So he's a very scary character to interact with in the story. And then you have Haman. Haman is the evil villain character in the story. And then you have Esther and Mordecai, who are sort of our heroes. Now in chapter 1, the book opens up with Xerxes throwing a 6-month-long banquet in his own honor. So just feasts every day to celebrate how amazing he is. And he invites all of his friends and the noblemen to just drink and eat all day long with him. And then he summons the queen, Vashti, his wife, and he wants her to come and entertain his guests. And he asks her to come wearing her crown and only her crown. And so she refuses to do that, and so he deposes her as queen. He says, you know what, you're not queen anymore then. So you kind of see how irrational this guy is. Now chapter 2 is he hosts this big beauty pageant across the whole nation for who's going to be his new wife. Esther is said to be very beautiful, and she wins the lottery of becoming the new queen of Persia, and she becomes the wife to King Xerxes. But it's interesting, he almost never interacts with her. He's like too busy just drinking in his own palace, so she gets to be queen and live in the palace as well. Then we also learn that Mordecai uncovers a plot to assassinate King Xerxes. Mordecai then tells Esther about the plot. Esther tells the king, and then they investigate it and find out it's true. So Mordecai is lifted from poor refugee to the status of a noble in the kingdom. So right now, for Mordecai and Esther who have gone into exile, they find themselves actually in a really great situation. Esther's a queen, Mordecai is a nobleman. God is really taking care of these two people. That's where we pick it up in chapter 3, verse 1. It says, after these events, King Xerxes honored Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, elevating him and giving him a seat of honor higher than that of all the other nobles. All the royal officials at the king's gate knelt down and paid honor to Haman, for the king had commanded this concerning him. But Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor. Then the royal officials at the king's gate asked Mordecai, why do you disobey the king's command? Day after day they spoke to him, but he refused to comply. Therefore, they told Haman about it to see whether Mordecai's behavior would be tolerated, for he had told them he was a Jew. When Haman saw that Mordecai would not kneel down or pay him honor, he was enraged. Yet having learned who Mordecai's people were, he scorned the idea of killing only Mordecai. Instead, Haman looked for a way to destroy all of Mordecai's people, the Jews, throughout the whole kingdom of Xerxes. In the 12th year of the king of Xerxes, in the first month, the month of Nisan, the pur, that is the lot, was cast in the presence of Haman to select a day and month. And the lot fell on the 12th month, the month of Adar. Then Haman said to King Xerxes, there is a certain people dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom who keep themselves separate. Their customs are different from those of all the other people, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let a decree be issued to destroy them. And I will give 10,000 talents of silver to the king's administrators for the royal treasury. Jump down to verse 13. And the king agrees to this. Although we learn later he probably was too drunk to understand what was going on. It says, dispatches were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces with the order to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the Jews, young and old, women and children, on a single day, the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, and to plunder their goods. A copy of the text of the edict was to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationality so they would be ready for that day. The couriers went out, spurred on by the king's command, and the edict was issued in the citadel of Susa. The king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa was bewildered. God's people face extinction. So right here you have Haman. It says he's an Agagite. He's from the lineage of Agag. And you might remember in 1 Samuel, that's the king that Saul did not want to kill. And so Samuel himself has to come and put that king to the sword. So Haman is not Persian. He's actually a Canaanite. because Agag was in the land of Canaan. So here you have Mordecai, who is from Israel, Haman, who is from Canaan, and Haman is rich, he's powerful, so everyone has to bow down to him and pay him honor. And Mordecai's like, I'm not going to bow down to this Canaanite guy. Forget that, I'm not doing it. And so Haman sees Mordecai, he's like, you know what? I really want to kill this guy. But now that I know he's from Israel, I'm not just going to kill Mordecai. I'm going to kill every single person who's related to him. I'm going to annihilate his entire race of people. Because Israel had gone in, conquered Canaan, that was God's promised land to them. And so here he has a super deep-seated bitterness toward Mordecai and everything he represents to him. And so now he goes to the king and is like, hey king, I'd like to pass a law like a year from now, just on one day, we're just going to go ahead and kill all of them at once. And the king is like, huh? Yeah, go for it. No problem. And he rolls dice ahead of time. So didn't even get the king's permission yet. Rolls dice to decide the day. And the dice falls exactly 1 year or 12 months later. And that's the day where now all the people are going to be killed. It's legal, it's in writing, it can't be undone. God's people face extinction. Point number one, God's people have always been an endangered species. God's people have always been an endangered species. And here we have almost a common scenario in the Bible. You have an evil character. And the best stories always have the best villains, don't they? Darth Vader is really what makes Star Wars cool. The Joker and Batman. Thanos makes the Avengers appealing. That's one movie that Christian Zamora has seen, by the way. He's seen the Avengers. And it's really the bad guys that make the situation desperate. And in the Bible, you have all these incredible villains. You have Sanballat. He uses a whisper campaign. He uses politics to try to bring down God's people. You have Nahash, the evil king, who wants to gouge out the eyes of all the Israelite people. You have Caiaphas, who convinces everyone that Jesus is the reason things are bad. We got to kill him. Even in the world today, you have assassinations, you have corrupt governments, you have these wars and genocides and terrible things going on. And, you know, one of my favorite film franchises is the 007 movies. You guys ever seen those? Okay. Tell the truth. I haven't seen it yet. Anthony Franklin, he saw the first one. And there's black and white. So he's following along. And, you know, in the most recent, so 007 has a theme where there's always there's something happening, there's some kind of terrorism, espionage, but the problem at face value is not the real issue. There's always like an evil villain in the background. It's the guy who, you know, turns around in the chair, he's like petting his cat, pulling his mustache. So it's that kind of guy that's actually behind everything. And in the most recent 007 movie, it kind of comes to an end here, and Daniel Craig, James Bond, he finds the villain, and the villain reveals that he was actually behind all the other villains. And he's like the ultimate puppet master, pulling all the strings, and even when you thought you found the guy that was doing all the evil, it was actually me. And I think in the same way, behind all the evil characters of the villain, behind all of the evil things that are happening in real life, in our world today, there is a backdrop, there is one main player in the backstage pulling the strings behind all the evil that we see. Turn with me to Revelation chapter 12. Ephesians chapter 6 says that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the evil spiritual forces of this dark world. Satan is behind it all. We get so fixated in our culture wars, and it's this person, and it's that person, and this person needs to go. It's this ideology. And everyone just falls for it easily enough, generation after generation. But there's one face, there's one name, one person, and he wants to destroy us all. And we learn about him here in Revelation 12 and verse 7. This scripture, it's a revelation, it's revealing the truth, it's explaining what actually happened. What is the truth of our world that we live in today? Verse 7, then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Messiah. For the accuser of our brothers and sisters, who accuses them before our God day and night, has been hurled down. They triumphed over him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. They did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has gone down to you. He's filled with fury, because he knows that his time is short. When the dragon saw that he had been hurled to the earth, he pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. Jump down to verse 17. Then the dragon was enraged at the woman and went off to wage war against the rest of her offspring, those who keep God's command and hold fast to their testimony about Jesus. See, this passage, this scripture, it tells us the spiritual reality of our experience here on earth. See, you might think you just came to some elementary school here in Brookline, and you think you're just kind of plugging away at your job and plugging away at your school, and I hope I get good grades, and I hope I get a promotion, but what's going on around the world around us? What's happening in Gaza and innocent children being killed? What's happening in Haiti and the destruction? What's happening in Ukraine and the invasion? What's happening with the assassinations? There is a cosmic struggle going on in the background. There is a battle for our souls. And it says that Satan tried to take over, and God kicked him out of heaven and sent him down to earth. And that's good news for heaven. It says that's good for heaven, everyone who's in it, but it's bad news for earth. It says that Satan has come down here with us. It says he's enraged because his time is short. And for us, it feels like a long time, thousands of years. Is that not long? But for Satan, he's an immortal being. He's going to live. And he knows that his time will come to an end. Judgment will come upon him. And he's so bitter. He's so angry at God because he wants to challenge God, but he can't even get up back to heaven to challenge him. And he's so frustrated that he can't beat God. You ever just been so frustrated at someone you can't beat? Your older brother's just like whooping you in Madden, and he's like not even going easy on you at all. And you're just like, I'm gonna get him when he's sleeping, right? I'm gonna get him in some other way. And Satan can't get to God, so what does he decide to do? He's gonna stick it where it hurts and get to those that God loves. Who does God love? All of us. Satan can't do anything to him, so he's going to try to break God's heart by inflicting pain and evil on you instead, by corrupting your soul.
Preach, bro.
You know, in a lot of ways, Satan is the opposite of Jesus. You know, Jesus, it says in Philippians 2, did not consider equality with God as something to be grasped. Then he comes to earth willingly, and his mission is to save God's people. Satan, on the other hand, did think equality with God was something to be grasped. He wanted it, and then he gets hurled down to the earth against his will, and now his mission is to destroy God's people. They are the total opposites of each other. And Haman in the scripture, he's supposed to represent Satan. See, all these evil people in the Old Testament, why are they written about? Why are they in the Bible? It's to help us understand the heart, the character, and the motives of the bigger picture, Satan himself. That's why we learn about Haman. And in chapter 3, verse 8, which we read, Haman tells the king, you got to kill these people because they're just different. It says they separate themselves. He says, we should not tolerate that, King Xerxes. These people are just different. And what made them different is that Mordecai and those who followed him would not bow down to Haman just like everybody else. Why does Satan want to kill Christians so bad? Because Christians will not bow down to him just like everybody else. If you are a true biblical Christian, see, Christianity is the biggest religion in the world. Well, how is it endangered? Because there's so few Christians in that religion. So few people that will live like Christ. But if you refuse to bow down, if you say no to bowing down to the idol of money, to the American dream and the pipeline of prosperity, if you say no to bowing down to the false doctrine that sells you lies, if you say no to those things, Satan's going to hate you, he's enraged at you, he wants to destroy you. But if you have said yes to those things, if you've given in to the pride of life, if you've given in to the greed of your hearts, and loving God is no longer number one for you, then Satan has you exactly where he wants you, in a seat at church on Sunday and back to the highway to hell on Monday. Totally deceived. But here in this ministry, we got a lot of problems here today. But what we are determined to do is to upload biblical discipleship today. To be the endangered kind of Christianity. You know, one of the underrated philosophers of our day, Kevin Hart, once said, people may hate you for being different and not living by society's standards. But deep down, they wish they had the courage to do the same. I think Kevin Hart was onto something there. Let's go to John 15. But like every successful successful speaker, he stole it from someone else. It is a little. John 15, verse 18. It says, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. Jesus never tried to say that it was going to be sunshine and rainbows following him. He never tried to sugarcoat it. And yet that Jesus has largely been lost today. It's right here in Scripture, but we've lost the Jesus of the Bible in Christmas. We've lost the Jesus of the Bible in Easter. And we think that the Jesus of the Bible is Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. And he gives you presents and you make wishes like he's a genie. And if you're a good boy, you get presents instead of coal. And if you're a bad boy, you gotta hide it. But then there's an elf system watching it. And we've completely lost the Jesus of the Bible. Jesus was hated by his generation. How bad did they hate him? They killed him. And when they said, what has he done wrong? Who has he killed? What has he done? They said, let his blood be on us and on our children. That's how much they hated this guy. Why did they hate him? Well, because we all have a very complicated relationship with what's called exclusivity. We love exclusivity when we're on the inside of it, right? It's like final cuts for the basketball team. If you make the team, you're like, well, we can't just have everyone on the team. But if you're not involved, like Michael Scott, he once said, I hate not being included. And I think he speaks for all of us. Right? I love like the group chat when it's like, oh, this is like the friend group, right? And then you find out they have another group chat with less people, and you are not in it. And you're like, I hate the group chat. Group chats are toxic. So why do people in the world hate the disciples? Because it says Jesus has chosen you. He's called you out of the world. And yet the ironic thing is you're not even that special for that. Jesus wants to choose everybody. Why are they not chosen? Well, consider Cain and Abel. God looks on Abel with his offering, shows him favor. He does not look out with favor on Cain. Cain's face is downcast. God says, why are you sad? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? And yet, what does Cain do? You see, Cain and Abel represent all of humanity. They're the first people being born. It's those who do right and those who hate the ones that do right. And Cain would rather fight and kill his brother than just repent of his sin. And the sad reality today is that many people would rather fight to protect their sin, even if it means killing you before they ever repent of their sin. People will totally fight to protect their sin if they don't want to change. People will fight to protect their lukewarmness. Even some of us here today, we will fight to protect our discipleship bubble, right? This is my comfort zone. I'm comfortable with these challenges, but when someone tries to push me out of that zone, whoa, man, you're in my bubble right now. And we will fight to protect our lukewarmness. The Pharisees killed Jesus because they were fighting to protect their own religiosity. They had a way of doing things that they liked, and Jesus didn't kill anybody. Jesus never even made it personal. He didn't even use names in his stories. Let's talk about farmers. The kingdom of God is like a net. And they're like, I know he's talking about me. Gosh, we gotta kill that guy. And that's what happens. Sometimes we hear a message, and it's like many people are here, and if it's speaking directly to you, why do you go, that's personal? If it is, it's not from the speaker, it's from God. It's from the Bible. It is personal. Don't you want a personal God who's trying to talk to you? There's no conspiracy. I promise you, no one up here is like, this one's for Kate in this one. If you're wearing pinstripe suits, middle part, little pink complexion, I don't like you. No. If it feels relevant, if the shoe fits, it's time to wear it. And really, what the religious world has done today is they've taken Christianity and they just made it all-inclusive. Who's a Christian? Anyone who feels like they are a Christian. Who's a Christian, who's not? Those who feel like they are, and those who are not ready for that yet. But one day we hope they do feel like they're Christians, and then it's Santa Claus again, right? They've made it all inclusive. Christianity is endangered not not because there aren't a bunch of people who know about Jesus. It's because there's so few people that are actually following him. Here, turn to John chapter 12.
This is too good.
You know, in the first century, Satan tried to destroy the church by killing as many Christians as he could. And you had emperors putting Christians to death. And every time Satan thought he had a victory, he killed one Christian, there'd just be like 10 more. There's stories of people being brought into Colosseums. They say, deny your faith or we kill you. They say, just kill me then. And they kill him. And everyone in the Colosseum was like, that was pretty baller, actually. And so many people were converting to Christianity. And so he tried to just kill the Christians and stuff them out, and it wasn't working. But then Satan switched gears. Instead of trying to kill Christianity, he decided to hijack Christianity and use tradition and false teaching. Let me tell you what, it's working. It's working when the Christians can't even identify one another anymore. My main goal today is to persuade you that this is a real battle that's happening. This is a real thing that's going on all around us. And it's time to enter into the battle for hearts and minds of men. That brings us to point number 2, the campaign to overcome evil. Let's actually go back to Esther. We'll come to John 12 in a second. Point number 2, the campaign to overcome evil. We go to Esther chapter 4. Let's remember what happened. It just got passed in the Constitution for real, that all the Israelite people are going to get put to death in about 12 months. Let's see, how would you feel about this? We can't even comprehend how alarming this would be. Esther 4 verse 1. When Mordecai learned of all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the city, wailing loudly and wept bitterly. Jump down to verse 4. When Esther's eunuchs and female attendants came and told her about Mordecai, she was in great distress. Verse 5. Then Esther summoned Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs assigned to attend her, and ordered him to find out what was troubling Mordecai and why. So Hathach went up to Mordecai in the open square of the city in front of the king's gate. Mordecai told him everything that had happened to him, including the exact amount of money Haman had promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. He also gave him a copy of the text of the edict for their annihilation, which had been published in Susa, to show to Esther and explain it to her. And he told him to instruct her to go into the king's presence and to beg for mercy and plead with him for her people. Hathach went back and reported to Esther what Mordecai had said. Then she instructed him to say to Mordecai, all the king's officials and the people of the royal provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, the king has but one law, that they are to be put to death, unless the king extends the gold scepter to them and spares their lives. Verse 12. When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back this answer. Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai, go gather together all the Jews who are in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it's against the law. And if I perish, I perish. Mordecai is freaking out because he's got 1 year. Can you imagine? In 1 year, whatever race you are, legally, the president, the U.S. military will go house by house and just kill you. You have 1 year to figure out how to save your kids. 1 year to figure out how to save your parents. Where do you even start? How do you get a hold of the president and try to convince him to change his mind? So Mordecai has an incredible opportunity. He's like the father figure of the queen. Esther is living in the palace. And he sends her this message and says, you have to beg the king for our lives. You have to share with the king what's happening. He probably doesn't get the scope of it. Haman is evil. That guy's crazy. Tell the king what's going on. And Esther's like, do you not know the law? If you go to the king and he doesn't summon you, you just die. Because what's the rule? It says that if he extends his gold scepter, then you get to live. So the default outcome of approaching the king is just death. Like, oh, if someone's coming, do we kill him? And if the king extends his scepter, you don't die. And she might be the queen, but that shouldn't give her that much confidence. The last one just got packed up for doing a similar thing, right? And so she's like, I'm not that special here. I don't even, we skipped it, but she's like, I haven't seen the king in a month. I don't see this guy often. You got a lot of houses and wives. And you want me to go in there and ask him to change this big law that's like gone public everywhere and just do the opposite of that? And he's like, Esther, this might be the divine reason that you even became queen in the first place. God has put you in a unique situation to save us and probably save yourself. Don't think you're getting away with this, sweetheart. Right? He doesn't know you're a Jew. She's a secret Jew. Right? He doesn't know she's Jewish. But when it comes out, she's the last one. Who do you think? They're coming for her too. That's what he's telling her. You know, it's crazy because God is never mentioned here. Right? She doesn't even say pray for me. She says fast. Right? They're not thinking about God at all. And so what's really crazy is the great grand plan to save all of God's people was for an unspiritual lady to go and share her faith. That was the whole plan. A lady not praying, not having her quiet times, go to the king and say, this is who I really am. Let me tell you about who God's people are. Please spare our lives. You know what's very interesting too, is in the same way, you guys know what God's genius, brilliantly architected plan is to save the whole world? Is for unspiritual people like you and unspiritual people like me to go out and share our faith. That is the whole plan. That is how we're gonna save the world. We're gonna go into our classes, we're gonna go into our workplace, we're gonna go into our family and say, let me tell you who I really am. I'm a disciple of Jesus. My sins have been forgiven. Let me show you where the true people of God are at and what the Bible's really all about. And you know what? That's exactly what we've been doing, and that's exactly where the miracles we've seen have come from. That's exactly what our sister Ayana did when she shared her faith with Maya, and today we saw her get restored to the kingdom. That's exactly what our sister Bella has done. And she's brought her whole family today. Welcome, guys. And she shared her faith with her brother Andre, and today after service, Andre will be getting baptized today. I'm not calling Ayana or Bella unspiritual. They're the best of us. But we are an unspiritual lot of people. It's just the truth. We sin constantly. We say, man, I just don't know if I'm righteous enough. I just don't know if I'm faithful enough. I don't know if I'm equipped enough to go and make a difference. And yet, whatever situation you're in, the family you're in, the school you're in, the workplace you're in, what if it is for such a time as this that you have achieved that position?
Wow.
You know, in Revelation 12:11, this is what Esther did. She did not love her life so much as to shrink back from death. And you know, for us, maybe some of us, we gotta not love our lives too much as to shrink back from death. We also have to not love our lives so much as to shrink back from an awkward moment.
Wow.
A spicy confrontation maybe. We're all gonna have moments like that this week. In the gym, in the grocery store, after class, and you see that person and you feel the Spirit telling you to share your faith with that person. And you're like, now I gotta talk to him, right? And you're looking for movements that tell you they're not open, right? Anyone that wears that color shirt is not open. People that do arms on Thursday are never open. I'm telling you, no reason I should talk to that person. And you're gonna feel all jammed up. What's really happening? You're tempted to shrink back. You're tempted to not be bold, to not be faithful. Even yesterday when I was writing this, I was in Panera Bread, and there's a guy across the table, and as I'm writing this, I look at him and I'm like, and so I wrote it. I was like, this is to inspire the people. You know what I mean? And so I walked to my car, and I'm in my car, and I was like, I can't be a hypocrite. So I got in my car, I shared with that guy, said he's not interested in church, but we're going to keep in touch, and I share my faith with him. That's the point. Look at John 12.
This is fire, bro.
It's about being bold.
Yes.
But then I texted my buddy Anthony. He said he's coming to church. He's here today. What's up, Anthony? And Julia shared with him, but I texted him yesterday, so we share. We share in the victory. John 12, verse 20. Anthony's like, I brought myself here. In verse 20 it says, now there were some Greeks who among those who went up to worship at the festival. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, with a request. Sir, they said, we'd like to see Jesus. Philip went to tell Andrew. Andrew and Philip, in turn, told Jesus. We study out the apostles. It's very interesting. They kind of serve as like mediators between the people and Jesus. So it goes up the chain of command. These Greek people want to see Jesus. What does Jesus say in verse 23? Jesus replied, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Anyone who loves their life will lose it. Well, anyone who hates their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me. And where I am, my servant also will be. My Father will honor the one who serves me. Now my soul is troubled. And what shall I say? Father, forgive me from this hour? No. It was for this very reason that I came to this hour. Father, glorify your name. And right here, these guys come and they just want to see Jesus. And then the apostles come and say, Jesus, these Gentile people want to see you. And he's just like, the hour has come. Totally out of left field. He likes to just kind of disregard people's questions, right? Nicodemus is like, we know that you're a teacher who's come from God because no one else can. He's like, very truly I tell you, no one can enter the kingdom. He's like, what? You're talking about people being born? But right here, why does he give such an out of left field answer? I think it's because Jesus was not interested in people who just wanted to come see him. People that wanted just to spectate him.
Wow.
He's always wondering, where is the person that's going to lay down their life for me? I think a lot of people, even here today, you've come because you just want to see. I just want to see Jesus. I want to hear about Jesus. I like to just observe what's going on with Jesus. And yet Jesus never paid attention to who was looking at him. He paid attention to who was actually following him. Because many people are down to get a good look, even a really good look. I want to be down at the foot of the cross, where I can see Jesus. Jesus says, okay, who's willing to get on the cross? Who's willing to get on the altar of sacrifice? On the cross of servitude? Who's willing to be someone that's actually going to live like he did? I love the Exodus story. I talk about it all the time. You just probably get sick of it. But how many plagues were there to get Pharaoh to set the people free? Yeah, do you guys think that God just missed it on the first 9? Like they're in heaven, like, what's going to get Pharaoh to set them free? Michael, and frogs? Okay, send them frogs. Didn't work. Okay. Gabriel, what do you think? Flies. Genius, Gabriel. Okay, send them flies. Bigger flies? Gnats. No. It's not that Jesus, God couldn't figure out what was going to work. Why were there all the plagues? To show that there was only one thing that was going to work. It had to be the plague of the death of the firstborn. And that was to signify Jesus. There's only one way that people were going to be saved, and that's that Jesus had to die. And here Jesus is saying, there's one kernel of wheat, and if it remains alive, it's just a seed. But if it goes to the ground, if it dies, many people can be saved. And so here today, you can be a Christian, and it says you can hold on to your life, but in the end, you will lose it. But the one who gives their life, who goes to the ground, who dies in the waters of baptism, who decides to follow Jesus and pick up their cross and follow him every day, what's the result going to be? Many more people will be saved. It's the same way. We have to die to ourselves today. See, Jesus was a sacrifice worthy to die on the cross because he had never sinned. And yet for all of us, any sinners in here today, our sacrifice in death means nothing. We're a blemished lamb. How do we give our sacrifice? Romans 12, verse 1 through 2, it says, as a living sacrifice. Jesus died on the cross. He's calling us to live on the cross today. And I want to ask you guys, have you taken a vacation from your cross? Are you still carrying it? Have you made a second rental property offshore for when things get a little tough? We are called to live our lives on the cross, just like Jesus did. What's the campaign to overcome evil? It's going to be after church today, where we storm out of these doors, Monday to Friday, Saturday, and into next Sunday, and we're sharing our faith boldly with everyone that we meet. The Avengers movie that I mentioned earlier, Christian is going to follow me here on this movie analogy. You guys know in Infinity War? Doctor Strange gets the stone, and he's looking into the future. If you haven't seen, you've seen it. And he's looking for all the different outcomes that can happen. He's kind of tweaking out a little bit. And then they're like, how many outcomes did you see? And he's like, a bajillion, right? So many. And then they're like, and how many of those did we win? He says, one. There's only one way that we win this. I think for us, we're a critically endangered group today. People that want to follow the Bible and not let it be perverted and polluted by false teaching and watering it down and Satanism and all this nonsense. And there's only one way it's going to work. That's if we die to ourselves today. I want to challenge you today. If you're a disciple in the church and you have not been in the battle with us, Jeremiah 48 says, cursed is the man who is lax in doing the Lord's work. Cursed is the man who keeps his sword from bloodshed. I want to challenge you. If you have not been in the battle, it's time to get off the couch, get out your feelings, get out the car, and get back into the battle with the rest of us. Preaching the word out every day. Let's go to Esther chapter 5. We'll get to our third and final point. The ultimate deliverance of God. The ultimate deliverance of God. So Esther, she's got a scary task in front of her, doesn't she? She got to go up there and talk to the king, and she might just get boomed right off the rip. So Esther 5 verse 1. On the third day, after fasting for 3 days, follow here, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the palace in front of the king's hall. The king was sitting on his royal throne in the hall, facing the entrance. When he saw the queen, Esther, standing in the court, he was pleased with her. And he held out to her the gold scepter that was in his hand. She's going to live. So Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter. Then the king asked, "What is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? Even half the kingdom it will be given to you." She came on a good day, didn't she? "If it pleases the king," replied Esther, "let the king together with Haman come today to a banquet I have prepared for him." Okay. So she's not like, "Please save us, king." She's like, "King, I just want to make you dinner. Can I make you a..." She understands the way to a man's heart often is food. So I just want to make you dinner, and why don't you invite your buddy Haman? I know you and Haman are thick as thieves. Go ahead and invite Haman. I'll just throw a banquet for you. And she knows he's a party guy, so he's like, "Bring Haman at once," verse 5, the king said, "so that we may do what Esther asks." So the king and Haman went to the banquet Esther had prepared. As they were drinking wine, the king again asked Esther, "Now what is your petition? It will be given to you. And what is your request? Even up to half the kingdom will be granted." He's really throwing this out here, isn't he? Esther replied, "My petition and request is this. If the king regards me with favor, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition and fulfill my request, let the king and Haman come tomorrow to the banquet I will prepare for them. Then I will answer the king's question." So she's like, "I want to throw another banquet for you. I want to make even more food for you and Haman." So she's persuasive, right? She's seeing her window here. Verse 9, Haman went out that day happy and in high spirits. But when he saw Mordecai at the king's gate and observed that he neither rose nor showed fear in his presence, he was filled with rage against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home. So Haman's, just got done. He's like, "Man, king loves me. Esther invited me to her party. Life is good." And then he sees Mordecai. He's like, "Man, I'm going to kill that guy. I can't believe he doesn't love me like everybody else." And this is pretty funny. He ends up going home, and he calls all of his neighbors together, his wife and all his friends, throws like a dinner party. I don't know what these guys do for work. And they're all at the house. He just starts like flexing on all of his neighbors. He's like, "Guys, I got money. I'm powerful. I'm handsome. You guys are lucky to know me, honestly. And the king loves me, and things are just going so good. But that guy Mordecai, man, I can't even be happy. I can't even be happy because Mordecai is just ruining everything." And then in verse 14, his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, "Have a pole set up, reaching to a height of 50 cubits, and then ask the king in the morning to have Mordecai impaled on it." That's so psycho, isn't it? "Then go with the king to the banquet and enjoy yourself." This suggestion delighted Haman, and he had the pole set up. So his wife is like, "Hey, I can see you're hurt. Like, I'm hurt. I'm hurt for you. I can't believe this guy Mordecai would do that to you. It's not fair. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask the king to set up a huge pole, like 50 cubits high. It's like 150 feet in the air. And, we want it. We'll allow for this kingdom. He'll understand. So he's going to make that pole for us, 100%. And then we're going to have Mordecai just turn into a donut on it. We're just going to impale him. And he's going to be the flag for our house. And then you're going to be so happy." And he's like, "Man, that guy's such a good wife. Such a genuine guy spirit here. She's just the best." So he's got a great plan. He's on his way back to the palace. He's like, "I'm going to ask, just like my wife said." And you know what's funny? He makes the poll ahead of time anyway. So again, he throws the dice to figure out when to kill the Jews and then ask the king later. And here he makes the poll, and then he doesn't even listen to the king, right? He just does things however he wants. Do you get it, Miles? Chapter 6, verse 1. It says, "That night the king could not sleep, so he ordered the book of the Chronicles, the record of his reign, to be brought in and read to him." It's got to be one of the weirdest verses in the Bible. So you got the king, he's tossing and turning, "I can't sleep." So he asked someone to come in and read about a book about how amazing he is to him. That's like, I don't know, it's like a Mecca falling asleep listening to his own sermon or something. A Christian watching his own highlights. And so here, this is what's happening, verse 2. It was found recorded there that Mordecai had exposed Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's officers who guarded the doorway, who had conspired to assassinate King Xerxes. What honor and recognition has Mordecai received for this? The king asked. Nothing has been done for him, his attendants answered. The king said, who is in the court? Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the palace to speak to the king about impaling Mordecai on the pole he had set up for him. His attendants answered, Haman is standing in the court. Bring him in, the king ordered. When Haman entered, the king asked him, what should be done for the man the king delights to honor? Now Haman thought to himself, who is there that the king would rather honor than me? So he answered the king, for the man the king delights to honor, have them bring a royal robe the king has worn, and a horse the king has ridden, one with a royal crest placed on its head. Then let the robe and the horse be entrusted to one of the king's most noble princes. Then let the robe the man the king delights to honor, and lead him on a horse through the city streets, proclaiming before him, this is what is to be done for the man the king delights to honor. So the king, he's fallen asleep listening to a book about himself. And in the book, it talks about the time that Mordecai saved his life. Because Mordecai uncovered an assassination attempt. And he's like, huh? Mordecai did that for me? Did we ever give him anything? They're like, no. You're probably too drunk to remember. He's like, it's like, man, we got to do something nice for that guy. If only there's someone with any ideas around. Is anyone outside? Like, Haman's outside. Oh, I love Haman. Bring him in. Haman, what's a good gift to give someone that I want to honor? And hey, why is Haman coming there? To convince the king to let him execute Mordecai for nothing, right? But the king just found out that Mordecai is like going to be the new best homie. So Haman's like, he's probably talking about me. So he just gives his whole pathetic fantasy about how he gets to pretend to be king. And he's going to be on the king's horse with the king's robe. And a noble prince is going to walk around saying, this is the best guy in the whole world. And so then look what the king says in verse 10. That's a great idea. Go at once, the king commanded Haman. Get the robe and the horse and do just as you have suggested for Mordecai the Jew, who sits at the king's gate. Don't neglect anything you have recommended. So Haman got the robe and the horse. He robed Mordecai. That's just crazy. Muttering under his breath. He's such a weak sauce guy. Everyone, it's like the guy that talks big online, you know what I mean? But you meet him in person, he's like, so Haman's putting the robe around Mordecai. And then he's the noble prince that's going to go around shouting how awesome Mordecai is. So he led him on horseback through the city streets, proclaiming before him, this is what is done for the man the king delights to honor. So this right here is really where the book pivots. And it's incredible because this entire time, God is never mentioned, and you can so clearly see how he's working in it, isn't he? Like, how is God going to save me? He will. God always delivers his people. Go to chapter 7. Because remember, Esther's got this banquet happening, right? She's got the king and Haman coming. Verse 1, so the king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet. And as they were drinking wine on the second day, the king again asked Queen Esther, what is your petition? It will be given to you. What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be granted. So they're at day 2 of the party. He's drinking. He's like, why are we here again? All right, Esther, what do you want? This is for you. Verse 3. Then Queen Esther answered, if I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition. And spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated. Verse 5, King Xerxes asked Queen Esther, who is he? Where is he? The man who has dared to do such a thing. So clearly he had no idea what was going on when Haman came the first time. Esther, imagine they're all at the same table, right? So you got Esther, Mordecai, the king, Haman, and she's like, I want you to spare my life. And he's like, who did it? Who did it? And Haman's like, Verse 6, Esther said, an adversary, an enemy, this vile Haman. Then Haman was terrified before the king and queen. The king got up in a rage. He left his wine, and he went out into the palace garden. But Haman, realizing that the king had already decided his fate, stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. So the king is like, I can't believe this. My best friend, I'm so sorry, baby. That's my fault. I got a little excited. That's Benicio, everybody. He's a fan. He's a friend of the church, so he's having a good time. So the king is like, I can't believe it. I cannot believe that my best friend would try to kill my own wife. And he goes outside. You know it's serious because he leaves his wife. So I gotta in the garden. Can't even drink right now. And then meanwhile, it says Haman's like begging Esther, and it says that he's like climbing on her. Like verse 8, just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. So he's like grabbing her, like, please. As soon as the word left then he says, the king exclaimed, will he even molest the queen while she is with me in the house? As soon as the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. She just gets gagged by the secret police right there. And then it says, then Harbona, one of the eunuchs attending the king, said, a pole reaching to a height of 50 cubits stands by Haman's house. He had set it up for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king. The king said, impale him on it. So they impaled Haman on the pole he had set up for Mordecai. Then the king's fury subsided. Wow. In a book where God is never mentioned, have you ever seen more clearly his providence mapped out? The way he protects his people. You know, one might ask, why did they even have to go through this whole thing? Why did Mordecai and Esther, like, what was the point of Haman? Why did all this happen? Well, remember, they're not talking about God. What if this is what got God back on their minds? This is what got them fasting. This is what got them thinking about God again. In the same way, a lot of us are like, life is so hard. Why is this happening to me? Couldn't I go without this? What if God is setting you up for an incredible deliverance? And he wants to know if you're going to be faithful to him today. See, God will always deliver his people. We'll close out right here, chapter 8, verse 1. That same day, King Xerxes gave Queen Esther the state of Haman, the enemy of the Jews. And Mordecai came into the presence of the king, for Esther had told how he was related to her. The king took off his signet ring, which he had reclaimed from Haman, and presented it to Mordecai. And Esther appointed him over Haman's estate. Now, there's quite a symbolism to this. The king ends up giving to Mordecai and Esther what used to belong to Haman. See, this is a story about how it's going to go for Satan. Why is Satan so upset? Why is he so angry at you? Because God plans to give to you what wasn't enough for Satan. A place in heaven next to him. And he doesn't understand why that's enough for us. Think about it. Haman had a house right next to the king. He had everything he wanted, and it wasn't enough for him. And now, Haman's on out of there, and he's going to give that place to Mordecai and Esther instead. See, God's people do face instinction, 100%. But God will always deliver his people. The question today is not, will God deliver his people? The question is, will we be the people of God today? Let's be the Lord's people today. I love you, and that's the lesson.